Good morning, everyone. Today we have as a guest Jaime Rosello, is correct? I hope it's pronounced properly. From which is the CEO and founder of Silica Corpora AI, which is a startup from Berlin. Maybe you can tell us more if it's a spin-off of the university or you created. And just as a background, he is originally as I think a couple of degrees in engineering and physics, and then took the MBA at the economy school in Berlin. So maybe now I'll let you, if you want to say more, introducing yourself before I ask you something.
Sure. Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. It's very nice for me to give a glimpse also on what we are doing in a more relaxed way, because usually I have this executive presentations and for investors. So very happy to have more relaxed chat. My name is Jaime. I'm coming from Spain, actually. I'm coming from Mallorca, so I'm actually also part of the Mediterranean. But yeah, I'm based in Berlin since 2.5 years ago. So starting for my background expertise, I have to say that I have like a very horizontal background, I would say, because I'm a mechanical engineer by training. So I started at university doing industrial engineering, and then I specialized in mechanical engineering. I really like to be creative, touch things. So that's why I really liked to pursue the degree. But soon after, I started working in R&D in the automotive industry. So my first job was like mostly involved in R&D for cars. Actually, I was working in doing mechanical integration in vehicles of cameras that were supposed, or maybe will. I think that this starts coming. They started like substituting the rear view mirrors of the cars, first 3D printing models, and then putting them on BMW or an Audi, and then I was testing the car. So that was my first job. So I found it very nice, but there was something missing, and I didn't know what it was at the time. It took me years actually to know. After that, I moved back to Mallorca because that was back in Barcelona. I was studying there and I started working there. But when I went back in Mallorca, I started working in construction because construction is one of the biggest things there. So it was easy to get a job there. So I started working as a project engineer. So I was doing something like more related to project management, project design, etc. And still was something that it was not working, right? So I was like a bit unsatisfied with what I was doing, and I was still didn't sure about what it was. But I tried to go into more fundamental science, right? And there was a very big opportunity that appeared in my career. That it was that I noticed, or I just read an article in which one of the professors in the University of the Balearic Islands was actively involved in the discovery of gravitational waves. So was the Nobel Prize winner in 2017. Yeah, that was for me like extremely nice. So I just decided to go and try to get a glimpse of what the guys were doing. And they were offering a program or a master's in advanced physics and applied mathematics. So I just decided to apply and see if I was lucky to know a bit more, and they accepted me. From there, I started a journey in which it was very complicated because astrophysics is a difficult thing, not gonna lie. And for me, it was even more complicated because I was trained as an engineer, not as a physicist. So I had to catch up with a lot of things. And at the same time, I was working, right? So I was working as a project engineer. In addition to that, life kicks on, right? And I had to change my job because I couldn't continue with the other one. And I got another job in construction, but more in the hospitality management. So they offered me a position in which I was an international manager for facilities in hotels. And these hotels were located in South America, North Africa, mostly because I also speak some French. So they sent me there, and also a bit in Europe. At the same time, I was working on the masters, and as you can imagine, it was like a very big struggle for me. And at some point, COVID came, And aligned with COVID, some other things happened in my life that made me just think about, okay, what am I doing? I need to take a decision. I cannot do both things, right? And since everything stopped, I also decided to take a stop on myself. And I took like a year in which I did do anything. And I just focused on thinking what to do. So first of all, I decided to finish the master's because I thought that it was an important thing, right? Like finish what you started. But then I just decided that it was enough for me. And what I really wanted to do is business, because I know how to do business. I really like this managerial position, but I wanted to combine it with something that it was something more into science, right? So that's how I ended up in Berlin. Actually, somebody also texted me. I was looking for business education, and I got offered a position as an MBA candidate in Berlin for an MBA in life science management. And never in my life before I did biology, like per se, because as an engineer and physicist, biology was something that it was a bit far from me. But since I did astrophysics, I did engineering, and I was supposed to be a musician when I was 16. I said, okay, why not, right? Let's just give it a try. And that's how I ended up in Berlin. Actually, it was also a very big change. I had to like literally sell everything I had, because of course an MBA fee is quite expensive, especially when you go and study outside of your country. So I sold everything I had, my car, my properties, everything. And in 3 weeks, they told me, you are accepted, but in 3 weeks you must be here because the course is starting, right? So I quit the job that I had, the current job that I had. I sold everything and I just moved to Berlin. And this is where the adventure of the startup starts, right? The adventure of the startup is like a completely different world, because in the end, we were also running with a bit of COVID still in 2021, right? I was trying to get a job because my first idea was to get a job in Berlin as a salesperson or a business person, right? But I never thought that it could be like ending, like having a startup. That's the story of my education and background until the startup. Then the story of the startup is a complete new journey again. But yeah, maybe I can give a couple of hints if you want. I don't know if you want to stop first a bit. Maybe you have another order for the questions, Alessandro.
No. But actually, actually, that something else popped up. So why? Okay, first, so you did the MBA at your own expenses, which I know it's tough. So some people get sponsored by their company or they have scholarship, but at your own expenses are heavy. Do you think this helped you for the startup, or I also did an MBA. I have the feeling that is overhyped, and in the end, the stuff you really use, you could have learned in the real world.
Yeah.
What was your?
Yeah, I can tell you a bit about that, because there is not a straight answer. If we are just subtracting everything and we are just putting on the focus the MBA, I agree with you. MBA by itself doesn't give you anything. In fact, most of the people that I was with in the MBA were expecting this, right? Oh, I'm gonna get an MBA and then my life is gonna be kind of solved, right? Or I'm gonna be like directly in business, and this is not what it happens in the end, right? What I can say about my experience is that I went to do an MBA with a very clear purpose, right? So my purpose was, I really want to get into a sales marketing position. I think that I have leadership skills. I just need to, like understand a bit more where to go, how to go. But especially, I wanted to be with like-minded people. So as I said, for me, I find out, imagine that from 100% of the people that we were in the MBA, 85% of the people were there because they were a bit lost and they didn't know what to do. They needed like more, like probably people do PhDs and they think, okay, now I want a more business oriented position, or just jump into big pharma, for example, in our case. Well, there were a couple of people that they were a bit more puristic, I would say, and they were really trying to change something and they were trying to grow, and which is the important thing, right? They were trying to grow. And the kind of motivation is completely different, right? So for me, the MBA itself, it's nothing. And with this, I agree. But the fact that I left my country, I left everything I had behind, my expertise, my friends, in order to pursue a dream, it was the thing that actually made a significant change, right? So
How you ended up creating the startup? Why also? So you were planning this? Was you had you
yeah.
saw a need that was not fulfilled? Why?
So regarding the how we created the startup is also a very interesting point, because I think that in the end, what it happened is that all the planets align. Let's say it's been like a very interesting story. On my side, I can say that I wanted to create the startup because I really want to make an impact and change the world, right? This is like my inner motivation that I had, and I knew that I was able to do it. And I also wanted to do things on my way, all right? So I was thinking that the way that I was managed on my previous companies was not good, and I could do it better. So that's more or less like the fundamentals of it. But how it started, it's even more interesting. So the way it started is that we were running through the MBA. And of course, we started to preparing some workshops, some presentations. And at some point, I met a guy, which is now my co-founder, and of course, one of my best friends, Tim. And he was like actively involved in AI and bioinformatics. And at some point, he made a presentation in one of our courses of project management. And he explained how they were trying to do folding of adenovirus, etc. Right? And we started a discussion, and we started how this discussion of how AI is going to change the world, right? And at some point, we got it like very, very excited talking and potential things that could be done with AI in the world of pharma, right? Very good friends at that point, so we just hanging out, going out, well, just being colleagues, right? And then the discussion starts appearing from time to time. Like I was telling him, dude, we should do this, right? Like we should do it on our own. We should try to do something like that. And Tim was telling me, Tim is like a very shy, you know, like he's very to the ground person, very relaxed. And he was saying to me, you know what, it's better that we don't. I think that I'm going to do a spin-off of my current company because there was a Russian company, and my co-founder is Russian, and said I prefer to sell the idea to my current company, and they give me just a place here as a manager in Germany and so. And I said, okay, fine, no problem. But these questions start popping up, you know, like every now and then. And at the same time, we were unable to find a job. So I was trying to get into an internship, but because of COVID, things were like extremely tough. And I didn't speak the language very well, right? German. And everything started being very complicated, right? Especially very brutal because of the weather here in Berlin, which is like very bad, like very gray. And the lack of vitamin D started affecting me as well. So we had like this feeling of being everything very heavy. And at some point, the war in Russia started. So we remember that. It was something completely unexpected, but yeah, in the end, teams start feeling very bad, of course, because they feel guilty for everything that is happening. And he wants to cut every contact that they have with Russia, especially also because of the consequences that this can have, right? And then one day we were just, again, you know, trying to support each other, trying to support because of the war. We were going back from home. We were very drunk. I remember going for kebab at 5 a.m. in the morning. And Tim just told me, let's start. Let's do this. Let's try to do something. And I said, okay, let's try it. And from there, we had this workshop in which we sat down together and we say, okay, what are the ideas? What can we do? And in the end, we came up with this idea of antibody design with generative AI, because he knew that there would be like a potential in the future. Like very soon after we started deciding or discussing all this, companies started popping up, right? And everything was bursting. So for us was like, I would say, the right time to start the company. So this is more or less the story on how we started. After that, we were running still with the MBA, but we started applying for a scholarship. in which we got accepted. And we just applied and we got it. And from there, it's been a year now. Well, a year and 3 months, I think.
So just to summarize, so the co-founders are only you and Tim, so you're two.
We are two co-founders, like early co-founders, let's say, but we onboarded a third person because we needed a third person. So in the end, we are an AI biotech company. So the part of AI was covered, or more or less bioinformatics. The part of business or company was covered, but we needed somebody who was at the forefront of the research, right? So we still understand that we need somebody who knows where to go, needs to go, why some diseases cannot be treated, why are some undruggable targets. So we decided to onboard a third person. And so the only thing that we can give to somebody that is a PhD with a PI position is a very big idea and some equity. So that's why we have a third person as a co-founder as well.
Okay, just going very personal. How did you find them? So with Tim, you were colleagues, like at the same courses, and this guy, you were like, you write him an email and do you want to join or?
Yeah, that's again another very interesting story. And it's just, I need to put a bit of the context. We had a first person, all right? So we find a person on a party. She's an immunologist. She's around 50 years old, so she's very experienced. We really like her. We think that the profile is good, but we need to hurry up to take a decision because we need to start applying for another grant, for the second grant, because we are running out of money. And there is another grant in Berlin that it's for 3 founders, and it's around 150,000 euros. It was perfect for us, but people told us you should apply with a third person, especially somebody who is German, who is responsible of doing the application in German, and of course that covers the part that you don't have, which is biology, right? So people understand that we need it. So that's why we decided to onboard her, but we didn't sign any contract. So we just started onboarding and we say, okay, let's go through the grant and see. And with this person, it didn't go pretty well. So things were not going very good. And at some point, we had to decide not working together anymore. But this was exactly on the point that we got accepted with the grant. So for us, we were running out of money. So we were maybe 2 months or in 1 month, we were running out of money. We got accepted the grant, but things with that person were not good at all. So we had to take a very difficult decision, right? In the end, we just sat all together. We tried to find a solution. We couldn't. It was pretty devastating, but again, it's a startup, right? So we decided to not give up. And at this point, I just find out somebody on LinkedIn that sent me a request 2 days after all this happened. And I just texted this person. She was Anna, so my actual co-founder. And yeah, it came out of the blue again, like you never expect this to happen, but it happened. And I just tried to say, hey, let's go for a coffee and discuss, without saying that we needed a co-founder or anything. So we just sat, drank a coffee. We explained what we were doing. She liked it. And I said, okay, we're looking for a person to jump in. And in the end, after a couple of conversations, we explained about the grant and she decided to come in. So that's more or less how we met her.
So you had also the experience of changing co-founders, but now I understood this fine. So I didn't know that the company was so young, actually.
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. The company is, as I said, we started in October 2022. And
you are totally independent, or you are somehow affiliated to the university in Berlin?
We are completely independent. So we started this on our own.
Consider the spin-off of the MBA or something?
No, we are not considered a spin-off of the MBA. And actually, we are completely independent. So we own all the IP. We own all that the company is doing right now. The only thing is, of course, we gave away some shares of already. But yeah, we are not a spin-off at all.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you don't want to answer, but like, how are the did you already have some agreement with contract with customers? Some people were already saying, either formally, informally, and say, yeah, we want to buy this technology, we want to use it, we'll give you, and not more if you have it, more like how did you find them?
Yeah. Well, one of the important things that you need in order to create a startup, aside from a very good product, is a very good network. Because in the end, as we said, now, for example, we started working with some people, but at first these people were not willing to spend money in a proof of concept that we were developing, right? So the first customer arrived. I cannot say who is it. I just can say that is a research center here in Berlin, very big. And we got it just because one of our contacts knew somebody inside the organization, that they were working in antibodies, that they believed that this is going to be the future. And they wanted to support us in order to make us grow so they can grow also next to us, right? So that's how we got our first real contract. After that, we are getting more contracts now, but it's because also they are getting trust, right? Like this first research center, if we have a contract with these people, they say, oh, if they have it, I think that we also can go and try it, right? So, and this is the type of waterfall in which, or this cascade in which everybody starts coming after. But we have still a long way to go through that, and we have to meet people in conferences. We have to also do like very good branding strategy, and people start coming as well. It's just that from the beginning or the discovery until the contract, you know, many months can happen, especially in pharma, right? Everything, it takes a lot of time. Project definitions take a lot of time, and right now we are more or less in this stage in which, you know, the ones that are close to us, friends and friends of friends that can recommend us, this is how we are getting the first contracts.
I have another question. So I understood that, so substantially customers are like from networks or early adopters or referral from friends or colleagues, so your networks.
Yeah, that's it.
But branding, I imagine, like you go to conference or you, okay, I know, not that would be advertising. So branding is like, because the first people were happy and they kind of say it somewhere, or what do you mean with branding?
Yeah, branding is a very important part of a startup. And it's something that somehow in life sciences is pretty undervalued. You have to think that technology is just one part, and especially since you guys are also students, and everybody thinks that when they have a potential technology, you know, when you finish a PhD, you have a good technology, but then you have to sell it, you have to scale it, you have to explain the potential of the technology, you have to explain people why should they have to have the technology, but also you have to differentiate from the competitors because you're probably not going to be the only one working in something similar. You have to understand that all these kind of things will also make people take a decision, right? So why they have to choose you in order to the other ones if you don't take the technology into consideration, all right? So that's how you sell it. And in the end, it's how you position yourself on the market. So I just give an example. So people that is developing a drug for cancer, all right, can position themselves, for example, or in case of having a good technology, you can position yourself on the business side, saying that, you know, like what you do is much faster, much cheaper, much precise, whatever you want to say. Or you can position yourself in many other areas. For example, that you are positioning yourself in saving lives, you are positioning yourself on saving lives of animals, for example, right? Because clinical trials and now, for example, AI can suppress that. Or if you are doing tissue engineering, I don't know, like in which exact things are you guys working, but in the end, you know more or less what I'm saying, right? It's the same thing. The technology is going to be the same, but in the end, you are differentiating yourself. Let's say, for example, shoes, right? People who is working on shoes and sport shoes, right? Nike and Adidas have a completely different message, right? Like one of them is more positioned in success stories, the other one is its position in performance, right? So that's more or less what we are understanding for branding. And this is what companies want as well, because once you grow a strong brand and people follow you for the brand, makes you much less, I would say much less similar than your competitors, but it creates an identity, right? And people want that as well, especially if they want to buy you or if they want to buy your product.
Yep. So, okay. No, I will also associate branding to show that you don't sell fried hair or nothing. Like generally that there must be someone also telling, yeah, this guy is really doing what they do, what they say, sorry. So that's why I meant like an happy customer saying publicly or somewhere. So like building trust like this. That's what I'm.
Yeah, it's a combination of many things, I would say, because of course we are working with science, and science in the end relies on data and on success, right? Like that's something that you can show that it's working. But we must not forget that in the end we are irrational as animals, right? And you always have to put yourself that in cases of having competition, the irrational part is the one that is going to make you win the bet, you know? So in cases in which, let's say, everything is very aligned, like, and you are even everything with another company, your brand is going to be the differentiator point. So that's something that you have to take into account.
And talking about like competitors, like how did you protect yourself? You file a patent, you have some.
Yeah.
Quickly, like what's your protection strategy, let's say?
Yeah, our IP strategy is right now very wide, I would say. And this also becomes of the nature of AI, right? So one of the things that we can do is protect our idea through a patent, which could be nice. But when you are protecting algorithms through a patent, you have to disclose them. And as we know, AI has this particular thing in which when you see it, you can have a grasp more or less of what is people working on, right? So right now we are just trying to get it as a trade secret. So at the moment we don't want to disclose too much. And of course, we will need to start deciding what to do. But in order to do that, we will need some cash, of course, because grant strategy means getting lawyers involved and getting like a very nice big study on how to do it. For sure, we will have some patents at some point, but we still don't know exactly what we will patent because we would like to have the core of the algorithm protected so other people cannot see it, right? I was just thinking
because you are focused on patent and software, so you will patent in US, so the market mostly will be North America.
Yeah, that's another thing of the IP strategy, right? Where to patent. Right now, for example, there is a multi-submission strategy in the EU in which you can apply for different countries at the same time. We think that at the moment we are not going to go for a global patent, but it can depend also on what our investors say, right? The investors say, let's go to a global patent. We are not going to delay this anymore. We are thinking already what we can patent, and we have some ideas. And in order to fundraise, it's crucial. So people want to see that you have something that is protected, right? So for sure we will. We still don't know exactly the percentage of what we are going to protect, but for sure we will.
So you currently have investors, and they were okay also with not a very defined IP strategy.
That's also another point, which is very important. It's to define, you can have investors at any point of your company, all right, even if when you are in the idea stage. But of course, the valuation of your company is going to change, meaning that I can have investors right now, but they are going to pay much less for a percentage of the shares, right? So right now our company is valued in around 2.4 million euros. And the thing is that we are considered a pre-seed stage company in which we have an idea, we have a concept, we have a product, but we are still not launching it to the market, right? So that's the stage. In the moment that we are ready to launch it to the market, meaning that we have a patent, we have a validation stage, etc., which is already there, right? Like next month, that should happen already. We are preparing it. The valuation goes up, and meaning that the investors will put much more money, right? So you are de-risking the operation, right? So you have to always see it like that. There is not a bad moment in which an investor can come in and put money. It's just how much they understand the risk of the operation. So of course, right now, the money that we are talking about is a couple of hundreds of thousands of euros, but once we have the patent and the validation, like in a paper, probably the company is going to be valued at 5, 6, 7 times as we are now. So yeah, it's always a matter of how are you worth. You can worth something very valuable already without the patent. That's not a problem.
But how did you evaluated yourself, or the investors did it, or you follow some criteria? How do you know you are 2.4?
Our first investors are the University of Berkeley in California, and they have what is called the Skydeck Fund. Berkeley Skydeck is one of the biggest accelerator programs in the world, and they automatically do these checks, the same as Y Combinator or IndieBio. There's all big accelerator programs, and with the first check, they give you a valuation of the company, which is what an investor will do always. So they are the ones in charge of putting the first valuation of the company.
I see. Oh, that's good. They help you quantifying everything.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, their main goal is to succeed, right? Because in the end, that's the job on an investor. That's another thing that usually people misunderstand. An investor puts money, but money is not the most important thing that an investor puts. Is the network, is the capabilities, contacts. So that's the important part of the investor. They have to make you grow, not only with cash, also with many other things.
Yeah, right. And then, so since you have practically you will survive with investors, so I assume they will want to return relatively quickly. So it's not that you can just grow slowly on your own. So they are probably expecting you that in few years you are either acquired or you will grow, and you have an IPO. Do you already have thought about this kind of stuff? I don't know if you lost me. Did you hear my question, or?
Yes, I heard you. Sorry. So yeah, definitely. They really want that. Usually it depends, right? Because what they want is the maximum return with the least of time, and we all understand that. The thing is, right now we have different main strategies on that. The first one for us would be acquired, right? And we can be acquired, like let's say in 5 to 10 years. It could be like something that is, yeah, understandably okay. But we don't have a clear decision yet, because many things can happen and can change, right? So you have a main plan, and then you just follow it until you don't follow it anymore, and the plan is changing from time to time. Of course, one of the main strategies that we have is to be acquired, but just because of the market right now tells us that this is the path to follow, right? Right now, many of the big pharma companies don't do R&D anymore, or they do very little R&D. What they prefer is to acquire companies that have a pipeline. So for them, it's much cheaper. And now, especially with AI, they are buying platforms as much as they can, because they understand that integrating these platforms in their pipelines is what is going to make a difference. So for us to be acquired is going to be the important thing.
But generally, is a choice of either a choice of the founder, like if they want to still be independent, or if they're okay with the acquisition. Although acquisition is not seems easier, but as someone told me, it was even worse because they need to fit then the new mentality of the bigger company. Or another thing that people told me was that is depending if you because to get to the IPO you practically have to grow. You will not be enough with just the tool you need you need to acquire other things, while maybe acquisition you just carry your own stuff, and the problem is just how you merge. I don't know who will be like Sanofi or whatever.
Yeah, it's a complicated, it's very tricky, and there is not straight answer. What usually happens is that the more people you are onboarding in the company as investors, you have to understand that you are giving more shares, right? And that gives you less power. And at some point, the decision of taking one path or the other one, it's not about a single person or not even the founders, is from the board, right? And so everybody that has a vote can actually decide which is the path to follow, and all this usually is widely discussed, right? But of course, if there is a very big and good deal in the table, usually people won't say no. You know, it's only a matter of having a good reason of the potential of growing more. But yeah, it's always depends, right? There's not a straight answer. In my opinion, I think that is very nice to sell quick. And maybe you can be part of the big company, but in the end, if you are selling, right, you are gaining money, and you have the power of deciding if you want to stay or if you want to just leave and start something new, for example. Or yeah, it depends. So there is so many different options, right? Of course, I heard also a lot of these stories in which some of our colleagues, or a friend of mine has a friend that sold the company to Amazon. And then at a couple of months later, they said, okay, this is not the culture I like. I don't like to work here. Of course, I think that when you sell also the company and you have some cash in the bank, your perception and your goals in life probably change as well. So it depends of so many different things.
I see you're having some sunshine in Berlin.
No, actually not. It's my lamp.
It's the lamp.
We don't have, actually, it's completely gray.
No, we actually have sunshine today. It's very cold, but we have sunshine in Krakow.
That's great. Here
Okay,
it's
maybe
less.
the last one, and then I leave time to other people if they want to ask something. So I want to.
Sure.
What did you have any particular challenge or situation that probably with the startup every week you have something going banana, but like something you want to mention, and
Yeah.
how did you solve it?
Yeah, we had a big one. We had a big one, and the big one that we had, it was the one I mentioned before with the first co-founder, or the first person, that we had for the biology. So yeah, as we said before, we are just a year old, so the company is just 1 year, but we are growing at a significant speed, right? So we are going very quick, and we growing quick is usually not a good thing, because in the end, when you are two people and you are going fast, means that your life is going behind the company, right? And the thing is that since April or so, we were working, of course, very, very actively. We got accepted in Berkeley. That meant that we had to run into this 6-month program in Berkeley. As you know, Berkeley right now in computer science, at least, it's the top 4 university in the world. So it's like a very good university. And the accelerator program is also very good. But these kind of programs usually support unicorns. So in the end, they want you to run like very quick, right? So there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of moments in which you have to take harsh decisions, and they tell you exactly what you are not doing right, which is a lot of things, of course, because you're starting a company, right? And it's our first experience as founders. So in the end, there was like a lot of pressure involved. And the thing with this other co-founder that we had was that she was not behaving the way that we expected. Not, like better or worse, but it was not what we expected. And this started creating a lot of tension. Tim, my co-founder, because he was Russian, didn't get a visa to go to California. So we were also with this 9-hour difference. And everything just started falling down very quick, right? Because there is a lot of pressure, there is miscommunication. Somebody thinks that we shouldn't do this, somebody thinks that we should. Fights start appearing, and of course, stress starts popping up, right? In addition to all that, the grant was not arriving, the one that we said, then we had to cancel it. Tim and I were completely in bankruptcy because we had zero money in the bank account for more than 2 months. We had to ask money outside. And there was this big discussion in which, okay, what should we do? Should we wait for this grant to come? Or because the problem was that the grant was only acceptable if you were not founded by the company. All right, so the company is not founded. And at the same time, we had Berkeley that had this ticket that they wanted to give us, but you can just receive a ticket once you have a company. So it was a matter of what should we do? We are talking about doubling the money if we wait a bit. And of course, I was the one thinking that we should wait. And Tim, of course, was saying, no, let's not wait. Let's not be ambitious. Let's just take this. And these give us very big tense moments on our side because we were running with pressure of the program and without money. So life got very tough, right? In the end, we had a very good resolution because we had the grant, we had our co-founder that now is bringing us also a lot of contacts, and we got Berkeley. So it's a nice story, good story, but in the end, it was a tough moment in which we had to take a decision. I had to take a decision as being the one who was in California because I saw and I understood the big picture. And yeah, it came out being the right decision, but a very high cost, of course, because I lost a lot of weight. You don't see it because I'm shaved, but I have two big holes here in my beard that are not recovering since almost 8 months now. So you can see that in the end, it was very tough to have this burden. But that's how startup life goes, and the strong survive and the weak die. So more or less.
I had something similar during COVID time. That was not fantastic moment. Anyway, I think for me, I think I ask every possible thing like that. So I leave to other people if they want to discuss or.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we'll be super happy to hear from you guys if you have some questions.
I see in the audience there is Monica and Adrian that are trying to do. Oh, there is also Tomasz. So maybe I let Tomasz.
Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Tomek Gubawa. I'm a person who was involved at Sano from the very beginning. But previously, a couple of years ago, I also, together with my colleagues, created our own company. And I just wanted to second what you, Jaime, said before, that very absolutely your success depends very heavily on your reputation and your network. If I now recall that basically all big contracts that we got came from our networks, from my networks. So 2 UK contracts, 2 Netherlands contracts, 1 Polish contract. They were all people I knew, and they gave us the contract not because I asked them to. Of course, they had both the money and the need for our services. This was basically the computer science company, small boutique company, doing creating web services for scientists and web applications for scientists on contract. And they gave us the money because it all relies on your reputation. So you kind of front the company behind you with your reputation. They knew that, okay, it's Tomasz, I know him, he's a solid guy, so they are going to deliver, and we delivered. So we got another contract from them and yet another. So this cannot be overestimated. Otherwise, you're not going, unfortunately, you might not be going anywhere. and we didn't have investors. It was only our time and our money, but I imagine something similar can happen with the so-called smart money investors. They give you the network and they trust you, so their network kind of indirectly trust you because they vouch for you, and otherwise it's very difficult to get the hold. This is just the comment I wanted to make. By the way, thank you for sharing that with us. It's very interesting.
Thank you so much. And just a follow-up comment, I gotta say that usually people think that you as a startup, you have to go and ask investors to join in, but in the end, we had to learn this the hard way, right? That's not the case, you know. Like in the end, is a contract, is a contractual thing, and you are also choosing your investors, or at least this is how it should be. Don't give away the company to just the money, because in the end, that's also something that is gonna bury your company very quick if you don't have somebody that can give something else than money. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, if you're desperate, just sure, do it. But yeah, successful companies usually are backed with somebody that can give more than money, especially contacts. You know, these people that knows that person that can open you a door. That's the most important thing in the end, because this is how you generate money. People are not asking you how much cash do you have in the bank. They're asking you how many contracts do you have, and they're asking as well, you know, like who is in the company, right? Who is there? As Thomas said as well, right? The thing is that myself and team are MBAs in life science management with more than 10 years of experience, both in management and AI and bioinformatics. And Anna is a PhD, right? Like if there was not the case, and people is not with a good education and they don't have a successful track record, it involves more risk. It's not that trustable, right? So all these kind of things are the ones that are going to open you doors and how you're going to onboard people. So yeah, gather with the right person, with the right people, I would say, is the important point.
I share with you that there is, I see in the audience left, Monica and Adrian, who are the people trying to make this spin-off. And I guess they are even at earlier stage than you, so they are hearing the stories of, moment without money or turning crazy or what do we do? Well, this, I know it might sound scary, but yeah, be prepared. So these things happen. So don't be scared also, but like don't think that it's easy out there. It's actually very wild.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy, but there are two things that I if I can say about that. Well, Monica and Adrian, congrats if you want to start this journey. As I said before, I think that 1 year in a startup is like 5 or even 10 years in corporate. You're gonna learn a lot. If I can give you just a small advice, like advice that nobody asked, but advice is, if you're a spin-off, actually don't think too much about IP. All right. It's very important. I mean, I know companies that actually made a startup from a spin-off, and the benefits that you have as being a spin-off, that you can be supported by the university, can, you know, you can outcompete a lot of people like us, for example, that we are not backed by university, right? So everything that is having labs, computers, you know, like resources in general, if you have to give a bit of the IP for something that is actual growth, I wouldn't hesitate. So yeah, take this.
Although I heard both nice story and good story from Spino, like I don't mention the university, British University, I know kind of stopped a guy because they were put these things, we keep 50% and they were removable, like we keep this and actually from the University of Warsaw I heard the opposite. They managed to, they had also some tough regulation, but they managed to buy themselves, so they were free, and actually they had to do that as soon as possible. So you are spin-off, you are helped, but depending on
It always depends
Maybe
on
the
this.
university, it might block you also, or it might help you.
It depends, because in the end, what is the IP? The IP is just the paper, right? But if you are doing a business and you have revenue and benefit, it doesn't involve the IP at all. So that's more or less how you should see it, right? Like your IP, for example, can worth, let's say, 10 million euros, and you have to give 50%. Okay, so just so to say, but you can have so many other, like these 5 million, you are getting them on research, labs, like resources in general that are the ones needed. So long story short is, do you want 100% of something that at this point is just a concept, or you want to give something away in exchange of development and growing up? And I saw a couple of companies that usually, I saw actually one of the companies that were a friend of mine, that they were, by any chance, they didn't want to give away any IP to a university. They said that no way. And after a couple of months, they died, because in the end, we are pharma companies. We are life science companies. They were spending like 10,000 euros a month only in experiments and lab and equipment, people. And the company died. So now they have the 100% of something that worth zero. So that's a tough decision usually. But I would say that the first good investor that you can onboard is a university, because of the contacts and the resources.
Okay, if not anybody else's question, I thank Jaime.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.